Hello YouTubers, welcome to the final installment of vocabulary, world history AP vocabulary from chapter 23, more specifically European life in the age of the Industrial Revolution and its aftermath. Today we're going to be kind of all over the map with this video. We're going to start with Karl Marx and his thoughts on socialism. We're going to talk about Revisionism, which was a theory that came about after, more of a strategy that came about after Karl Marx and socialism. And then feminist movements, to move on to the social side of things. Charles Darwin will go through the intellectual and scientific side of things, and then finally end with Romanticism versus Realism, which is kind of the artistic side of this. So we're going to be kind of everywhere on this one, so bear with me. Let's start with Karl Marx and socialism. So Karl Marx was a German theorist who believed in, who was kind of the father of modern socialism / communism. And so in order to understand that, we have to kind of understand what those two things are. So essentially Karl Marx believed that the working classes would eventually, to put it really simply, would eventually rise up and gain control of the means of production and then distribute wealth more equally and fairly to the people within a society. He believed that eventually this revolution of sorts would occur in which all working members of society would be valued, and therefore society would work out much better than having people who have a lot versus people who have very, very little. So his theory kind of went directly against capitalist theory. Capitalist theory is extreme winners and losers, where competition leads to success of some at the failure of others. And so winners and losers in the capitalist system, it goes completely against his thoughts, which meant everybody in society should be valued and everybody's basic needs should be taken care of. So communism is essentially the theory in which all production, all wealth should be kind of distributed equally to everyone within a society. Socialism is the belief that all members of a society should be treated fairly, or at least have the basics that they need. And then capitalism is the idea that, well, the strong survive, the ones who work hardest and who make the best decisions. And so those three kind of thoughts, and I'm going to put up another video in here as well, a link to this, a crash course on socialism and communism and capitalism, which will probably give you a better description than I've given you. But that's kind of where Karl Marx was going from this. Now, revisionism is a word which I've thrown in here because it basically is the idea that modern governments can be revised using peaceful means through working with Congress or Parliament, and not through violent revolution. And so revisionism was much more a tact that people took to get some of these socialist ideas into the government. More movements were happening as a result of the growth of the middle class, and one of the major ones was the Feminist Movement. And the Feminist Movement, really toward the late 1800s, started to see led by females and some males as well, but for the most part, females started to demand that because they were valuable members of society and educated members of society and fully capable of thinking at the same level as men, that they should receive the same rights as men, at least be able to voice their opinions in government, and therefore have a government which is more representative of them. So this feminist movement is it was relatively new and emerged from Western society as a result of this new industrial order and the rise of the middle class, and the position of women was definitely on the rise. And so the feminist movement has led to further movements of feminism which have called for even greater equality for women, because that equality has been slow to be realized. So the feminist movement was one of the most important kind of outpourings of social change during this time period. Scientifically, we had some interesting new ideas. One of the biggest one was from Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin was kind of the father of the evolutionary biology theory, which stated that creatures must adapt to their environment in order to survive. And so that radical idea that animals, including humans, needed to adapt and change in order to survive kind of went directly against religious beliefs of a lot of different religions that believe there's a creator, and the creator, or God, had created humans in the image that he wanted them. And so Charles Darwin's findings were, for the most part, dismissed by the religious community as heretical or completely anti-religious, but more embraced by the scientific community, who was looking for going on with this idea that humans can solve these problems and figure out what's going on. And so explaining the natural world, and it kind of was a movement that moved religion down another notch following the scientific revolution. So, and finally, artistically, we started to see the birth of a new type of art, which became more and more abstract. And so we have a few different types of art. So realism during this time period focused on the realities of life, the harsh realities of life, in order to bring about change. So it was more people who engaged in realistic art portrayals, whether it be a book like Charles Dickens, who focused on the realities that were harsh about living in the industrial world, or painters who wrote about or who painted scenes of industrial life in gritty realism, showing the issues that were coming up. In contrast to that were the Romantics. And Romantics, when they wrote or when they painted and wrote about things which were kind of the idealized version of something. So Romantic literature was supposed to kind of get people to feel and to harken back to a day when life was whatever they wanted to make you think it was. It was kind of going after the most important parts of people's imaginations and making them feel something. Same thing with artwork. Artwork was showing beautiful pictures of what the ideal sunset or sunrise would be, or flowers, or a family perfectly situated to make them look just so. So that was kind of the movement in Romanticism, and kind of contrasted with realism. So those are the last words I'm going to talk about this chapter, and I hope you're enjoying your snow time. It's super bright out there, you can see, so that's probably where I'll place the words. Be awesome, and I'll see you later.